Well, hi, Rebecca. It's great to have you here this evening. So one question I wanted to ask you is, when you take a look at the digital space, especially the word digital and disruption, there's definitely fatigue around those two words, and they've been overplayed over the last couple of years. But from your perspective, especially not only here locally in Australia, but from your global travels, what are you seeing happening in this space?
So what I'm seeing is a lot of businesses are taking advantage of seeing opportunity in what technology is making available in terms of them changing their business model. I mean, they have to change the way that they're doing business. And, technology has really become an enabler of sort of democratizing a lot of business practice now for consumers. Consumers have incredibly high expectations of businesses. And so what that is doing is really forcing organisations to change the way that they are doing business, because the old method doesn't work anymore. The value chain for a lot of businesses has changed, and consumers are kind of demanding to be heard and for their needs to be met.
Now, from when we talk about the space, is there a particular industry that you feel is kind of benefiting more from this digital revolution?
I actually think some of the really traditional businesses, if you look at banks, for example, you look at customer service on the internet, you look at the ability to get, 24/7 kind of help, a lot of self-service via the internet. You can almost, do anything via the internet that once meant that you actually had to go into a branch, and it's obviously much more expensive to have a person sitting behind a desk and much more inefficient than having technology that can help solve people's problems. I think the health space is really interesting, particularly when you consider, in particular countries, overcrowding of hospitals. And I think what e-health has done is it's enabled audiences not only to connect to one another and to empower themselves about their own health and well-being, and to understand, what is going on, with themselves if they have an illness, but also for hospitals or for, medical facilities to actually be able to, give assistance to, consumers via technology. I think would definitely, reduce some of their costs and increase probably a lot of the efficacy of some of their programs, because they're actually able to not only reach more people but help more people and probably have less demand on their own services.
Now, so that's interesting, because a lot of what you're referring to revolves around data and the use of data and the business intelligence associated with the data. So definitely there seems to be a lot of synergy when you talk about the digital space that kind of goes hand in hand with some of the big data challenges that we hear about today.
Yeah. I mean, I think that, I started working in a telco here in Australia in the early 2000s, and the data that we could get then was so specific, and you could be so exact. You could target right down to, a particular suburb, a 19-year-old male that had recently purchased a ringtone of a rock band, and that was the early 2000s. And to be able to, use that type of information to not only provide a better customer experience, but for organisations to also be able to learn from that, and, from a kind of customer engagement, customer contact strategy point of view, research. I think research is really important, not necessarily by what people say, because I think what people say and what they do are two very different things. But the great thing about data today is that you can see what people do, and straight away you know exactly what you need to be able to deliver, and you have a higher chance of success. And I think companies that embrace that and understand that you need to test and learn, and you'll make some mistakes, but that's okay. You're better to try and do a lot of different things and learn from it than be afraid of, the terminology. And it drives me crazy when people talk about big data, because it's just more. It's just a lot more data than we've ever seen before. But it's still the same. It's the same guiding principles, which is people do stuff. What can we learn from what they're doing that either enables us to provide them with a better service, or gives us a piece of information for new product development, or what not to do, et cetera, et cetera. And I think that the challenge for companies is just not to be overwhelmed by the kind of digital terminology.
Great. Well, thank you so much, Rebecca.
Thank you.